Recently, I've seen a whole bunch of pro Nikola articles popping up, and if I didn't know any better, I would think that Nikola actually did something. Maybe you'll see its stock price ticking up and assume there's some kind of catalyst driving it up, but I'm here to tell you the only reason it's ticking up is because of these random news coming out that are pro Nikola as we near the date December 1st. What's coming up that people might be incentivized to pump up the stock? Oh, that's right. December 1st, when approximately 161 million shares of their common stock will become eligible for sale, and all of the early legacy bag holders can finally sell their stocks and cash out of this scam company. Hey everyone, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to talk briefly about these crazy, ridiculous headlines, and I'm here to reassure you that you are not going crazy. Nikola is still a company, but there is some kind of weird media spree brainwashing going on where so many different companies and articles keep talking Nikola up, even in the absence of any news that would warrant that, except that date I mentioned. We have titles like this: Nikola is still trucking. Largest US pension bought up EV stocks, Nikola and NIO and Zoom. Putting these three in the same sentence is already kind of sketchy because I'm not even a super bull on NIO, but Zoom is definitely a super legit company. Nikola is not. NIO at least has sold some companies. Even this title, I don't feel good about it. GM is all in on EVs. Wall Street is starting to believe. This is just a little bit irresponsible, and I'm going to go over the key points of this article, but then we're going to look at the one news organization that is actually speaking some sense, and that's the Financial Times. But before we get to the good parts, we have to slug through the bad. So let's read through this article from Industry Week. No truck maker has had a more tumultuous 2020 than Nikola Corp. So far, so good. The maker of battery electric and fuel cell electric drivetrain components and trucks went from zero emissions transport messiah at the end of spring, when the company went public, to being compared to Theranos, the fraudulent and now defunct medical device manufacturer once valued at $10 billion shortly after Labor Day. This is one of the best comparisons to make, but even in this comparison, Theranos actually had a product. It just didn't work nearly as well as they touted it to be, but it was something they developed themselves. Nikola, on the other hand, does not even have a product. They've built stuff, but it's cobbled together from all of these other companies, and they are as responsible for creating it as I am responsible for starting the Lego company. I mean, I can make things out of Legos, but I certainly did not engineer Legos or do anything super unique. That's when a short seller called Hindenburg Research released its now infamous report levying claims that the innovative hydrogen fuel cell technology purported to make zero emission long haul possible and inevitable was a sham, and that Trevor Milton, Nikola's outspoken firebrand founder and chairman, was a charlatan. So far, so good. More details on the history. Basically, their shares got owned. But despite all of these tectonic shifts, Nikola's new CEO, this guy, Mark Russell, portrayed Nikola as still having a foundation solid enough from which to disrupt the clean trucking sector and make a serious impact on climate change when he kicked off the latest ACT virtual event on November 17th. This is where we start to get into the a little bit irresponsible territory, because Industry Week is not making a call on things. They're just reporting things as is, but just talking about how Mark Russell believes this and not necessarily talking about all of the proof that's to the contrary and how actually damaging the Hindenburg report is. That's not cool. We go and see this timeline that we've seen time and time again. I wouldn't trust anything Nikola puts out just because they're good at making graphics, but they're not good at making trucks. Here we have some defenses that Nikola has made. They point to partnerships and investments from Bosch, CNH Industrial, and Hanwha totaling $480 million. Financial analysts agreed that network of partners is a major plus for Nikola. We think this core criticism is misconceived, JP Morgan said in a statement shortly after the Hindenburg report was released. And an analyst from JP Morgan has also been very bearish on Tesla for many, many years. So if you've been listening to any number of their analysts, you would have missed out on some of the biggest gains the stock market has ever seen in years. And quote, We believe the ability to execute by leveraging other companies' core competencies, specifically GM, CNH, and Bosch, is a major positive, not a negative. We also think speed, flexibility, and unencumbered readiness to change course quickly with evolving circumstances in a fast developing market are fundamental and desirable attributes of a disruptor. Okay, this could be a matter of opinion, but the key takeaway is not that being a integrator is a bad thing per se. The key takeaway is that this is not what Nikola said they were doing. Trevor Milton has explicitly said in the past that they are the best and only company that is vertically integrated to the level they are. And what they meant by that is we make everything in-house, even down to the inverters. This statement obfuscates the real issue, and that's the complete dishonesty and lack of trust to whatever it is they're actually doing. If the GM deal worth $2 billion in Nikola stock is not approved in December, Russell had previously stated Bosch and Romeo Power would provide the battery and fuel cell components. Once the company starts producing trucks next year, initially rolling out, and here we know where the parts are made, what are they actually doing? If they're just putting it together, what else do they bring to the table besides putting the Lego pieces together? I don't really see it. Here, Russell continues talking about the pros of hydrogen, how it's the only thing out there that we know of that can beat fossil fuels as a transportation fuel. I will grant him that there is a lot of pros of hydrogen, but there's also a lot of pros of electricity, and at the moment it is being made cheaper than ever. Hydrogen technology has not had the same level of popularity because it actually costs a lot of energy to make hydrogen, and just producing the hydrogen takes electricity, and it's all about bringing hydrogen down to a cost that's more affordable than gas, which at the moment it doesn't seem to be able to be done at scale or at cost yet. So this is just not a reality right now. While the questions around electric truck charging are currently being practically figured out and vetted, understanding how to realistically install the hydrogen stations to power fuel cell electric trucks is still in the nascent stages. This is still very, very early on, and there's a lot of variables that could maybe make it the most popular fuel source energy of all time, but on the flip side, it could also just die out. Hydrogen fuel cell technology has been around for years. People have already created cars. Toyota created one decades ago. It just never caught on. Versus when you look at electric cars today, that is definitely 100% guaranteed to be a big part of the future, if not the main part of our low emission vehicle world. The one main benefit is that FCETs, fuel cell electric trucks, can fill up at the same time as a diesel truck versus several hours for EV is another major selling point. The one main benefit is that you can fuel it up very fast like gas versus an electric battery. It takes a lot more time to charge. And this is funny. What's unique about Nikola is that we offer a bundled lease. Guys, I've been looking forever for what does Nikola offer that makes them different, that makes them a $7 to $10 billion company. And here it is. We're going to sell you a fuel cell truck for your long-range transportation needs. We're going to service and support and maintain that truck for you, and we're going to provide the fuel in one bundled lease. Oh my gosh, this is exactly what my Honda dealership does for me. So Nikola is a car dealership because they're offering me this like amazing package where they lease the truck to me and they'll help me do some basic maintenance and give me fuel. Okay, all right, so if you have $10,000, I would just invest it in your local car dealership because that is some top quality innovation. What? More importantly, Russell stressed is that the company's overall mission to improve air quality is still on track. And to that I say 100%. If you produce 100 imaginary cars, I don't think they'll burn any fossil fuel, zero. So they are more green than any other car company I know of. And now that we're done with that rant, let's go straight into the one grown-up in the room that is making sense, that's not trying to steal your lunch money. Financial Times. Nikola's nuts. When's the crash? 2 week to lock up expires TikTok. There we go. Finally someone that's making some sense. Remember Nikola? I do. In early September, while we were all enjoying the final dregs of lockdown-free sunshine, it came to light that the fledgling hydrogen-powered truck company might not be quite all it seems, the understatement of the year. following a quite frankly hilarious short report in which the author Hindenburg Research claimed that Nikola had overstated its technology, overpaid insiders, and most memorably rolled a truck down a hill to prove its vehicles worked as part of a marketing campaign. Everything unraveled. The stock got slashed in half, founder Trevor Milton departed, and the U.S. Department of Justice subpoenaed both the company and Mr. Milton. After a market capitalization of $28 billion in midsummer, Nikola was worth just under $7 billion by September's end, which is still $6.99 billion more than I think it should be worth, but I digress. With no revenues, bar those earned from its departed founder, and its product line still a long way off materializing in wheeled form, in normal circumstances, you'd have expected Nikola to keep shedding market value. Whoever wrote this article, I love that person. Materializing in wheeled form. Essentially, does it exist or not? Because they're making cars, so if it's not materializing in wheeled form, that means it has not materialized at all. Particularly as it seems its one credible partner, General Motors, was beginning to get cold feet on the deal it signed shortly before the Hindenburg report. And in this situation, I start to feel a little bad because I imagine Nikola at the altar and he's looking down the aisle and his bride, General Motors, just doesn't show up and everyone's just watching the wedding. And Nikola's up front tapping his foot thinking, he, she, whatever, they're definitely coming. They're probably just running a little late, right? They're showing up. They're not going to stand me up at the altar. Yet these are not normal times, and in fact, the opposite has happened. Today, Nikola's market cap hovers at just under $10 billion, which for context is 1/6 of General Motors and just under a third of Ford's. Now, to just really hone in how ridiculous this is, how many cars does GM sell a year? 7.7 million vehicles. How many cars does Nikola sold? The short answer is nothing. They have a partnership with Anheuser-Busch where they placed some orders and they delivered some trucks, but officially they've sold nothing. Reasoning as to why is difficult, bar the bleeding obvious line that the entire EV market has gone absolutely nuts. Don't believe us? China's electric car hopeful NIO is valued at $65 billion, despite just $629 million of revenues in the last quarter on Tuesday. And then there are others like XPeng at $33 billion and Workhorse at $2 billion, not to mention Tesla's ludicrous mode market cap of $474 billion. This is 3 separate videos. NIO is valued pretty high. Same with XPeng and Workhorse. Tesla might be the only one where its valuation also probably too high, but ultimately if you're investing on potential, it's definitely there. But moving on, you can argue about the merits of each business individually, and Lord knows people have, including us, including me, but taken in aggregate, it all looks rather darn bubbly. Which brings us back to Nikola. On Tuesday, 1 December, according to the company's latest 10Q, 161 million shares of our common stock will become eligible for sale beginning on December 1st, 2020, upon the expiration of the lockup agreements. Its current free float is 141 million shares, just under 37% of the total shares outstanding, according to Refinitiv Econ. Now, we're not economists by any means, but we're pretty sure we know what happens when the supply curve is shifted so aggressively to the right. December might be particularly cold for its current share of shareholders, even if they're living in the southern hemisphere. My prediction and this article's prediction is that come December 1st, a lot of people are going to sell because they want to cash out from this sinking ship. And when a lot of people sell, that puts downward pressure on the stock and it could tank. So that's your warning. If you have a position in the stock, make sure you know that date like the back of your hand and you have a plan for either selling it early or at least understanding the risk you're taking if you decide to hold. Now, does this mean that Nikola for sure is a scam company that will die? Absolutely not. Anything could happen. Nikola could still be a part of the EV future, but if you watch some of my previous videos, in its current iteration with its current leadership, it's been incredibly corrupt. There's hundreds of, I would say thousands of other companies that I would prefer to put my money in than this company that has definitively lied about a bunch of stuff that still has no clear proprietary service or technology that they're offering. I don't know still what they're bringing to the table other than their controversy. If you want to make money on the stock, learn options, short sell, buy put. If you are an investor, stay far, far away. That's just my opinion. I'm not a financial advisor. I think it's really important that we question what a lot of the mainstream media sources tell us. And in this case, it's a little bit irresponsible if people who don't have the time to do the research read these articles and assume that Nikola is a really solid investment when it's not. That's all I have for today. Please like if that was helpful. These videos take a lot of time to make, but I enjoy making them as long as you enjoy them and get value from them. This is Green Knight Trading, where Squires become Knights. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you soon.